These days, to think that such a concept like rebirth or reincarnation can exist. To me, it's very evident, very obvious, but many Buddhists, they come to me in a Western world who've been highly educated and say that's one thing about Buddhism they cannot accept, reincarnation. I ask them why. They say it's because there's no evidence. So what do you mean there's no evidence? Have a look through all the amazing research which has been done on that subject from many different angles over many, many decades. The evidence is there. Have you read it? And of course they say no, because it doesn't exist.
They don't see the evidence.
They don't see the evidence because
Like
it doesn't exist. Because it doesn't exist, they don't even look for the evidence.
Yeah. So what was it on the topic of rebirth, what was it that bended your faith towards that truth?
It was something which I accepted when I was even just a student. I thought it's so obvious that, why can life suddenly appear from nowhere? And why are these great savants, people who, when they're born, after just a little while, they could, like Mozart was one of the great ones, who could just do so much. And why have people got these abilities which they were never taught? And of course, later on, when you started to see evidence of this accumulate from people who could recall their previous lives and recall them in such detail, there was no other explanation. And as a physicist, I was always taught Occam's razor, where just the most obvious explanation was most likely to be the accurate one, and that you could only dispense with the obvious reason why people could recall these things and why they could have these abilities which they were never taught. The obvious one was they were reborn. And that to actually explain those phenomena, please supply a better answer, a better solution to that problem of people who can recall previous lives. And of course they can't give a better explanation.
They get more complicated.
Yes.
And
so,
more mystical.
Yes, and so Occam's razor just wins.
Yeah. So when you were at university, were these things going around in your head and you were interested in these things as you were studying theoretical physics?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And it's also to understand that the primacy of the mind in theoretical physics. They had something called the Schrodinger's equation, which was a fundamental part of quantum mechanics, where that reality required an observer, an event of a human intelligence. Artificial intelligence didn't cut it. It had to be real intelligence before the world as we know it would exist. And they had obviously one of those phenomena was known as Schrodinger's cat experiment, which if you understand quantum physics, it starts to bend your mind, but it's true. Because what was happening that Schrodinger imagined, he never did it, putting a cat inside a box, sealing it. There was a cyanide capsule inside the box attached to a quantum randomness generator, the decay of a cesium atom, and had a 50-50 chance of breaking the cyanide capsule and killing the cat after a certain time, say 5 minutes. And the question was, after 5 minutes, was a 50-50 chance of the cesium atom decaying, the cyanide capsule breaking, and the cat dying. So after 5 minutes, was the cat alive or dead? And the answer was, it was neither. In a third state. And just, how can that be? How can that happen?
Curved time, maybe.
Yeah, whatever it was, but it was actually, that's the truth of the matter. And now those quantum effects are being used to create quantum computing, random number generators, and so much more.
So you were learning this stuff at university?
At university.
Were you studying Buddhism as well? Did you have a Buddhist teacher? Were you meditating at this time?
I was meditating, had a Buddhist teacher, and I even still remember just when we're talking about fundamental particle physics, and the Murray Gell-Mann quarks, and the lecturer flashing on the screen the Buddhist Eightfold Path, because the 3 types of quarks come in 8 forms, or 8 combinations.
Yeah.
So even there, he saw the Buddhist Eightfold Path.
Within the quarks, the 8 types of quarks.
Yes, in the lecture on quarks.
Yeah.
So all this stuff, what it was doing was expanding your understanding of nature. So what it meant was, just like in Buddhism, through meditation, it's only the limitations of our concepts block out some of these ideas, like rebirth, like different realms of existence, and just like bliss when you leave some of this world.